Hey, good afternoon. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard, and it's a damn fine day to talk about a book. We are here for a book review, and today we're going to talk about Crime Scene Poetry by Cynthia Pelayo. This is from Raw Dog Screaming Press. Now, I'm a very repetitive person here, but I like to approach these things as if this is the first time you've ever seen me talk about a book. Raw Dog is the home of dark poetry. It's where I go for my dark poetry. I've read a lot of authors under their banner that I absolutely love: Stephanie Witovich, Cynthia Pelayo, Donna Lynch, etc. They're a really, really great publisher, a great place to go look for dark poetry if you have a dark poetry itch that you need to scratch. This is my fourth read by Pelayo, fourth and a half. I've read Poems of My Night, which is a collection of poetry she did, Into the Forest and All the Way Through, another collection of poetry. This one, I also read Children of Chicago, which was her novel from roughly last year, I believe. And then I did, it was like a Krampus anthology that I believe her and her husband put out together, like Gothic Blue Book 4 or something like that, I think. But anyway, enough of that. I enjoyed this book quite a bit. She forces me to look at poetry differently than I really want to, and let me try to explain that. The last two books have been similar. I read poetry because I like it, but also because it's like you can sit down and read a dark poem in a collection of dark poetry, and most of the time it's kind of a standalone thing. So you can spend 5 minutes and consume something, and it probably took you a minute to read it, and you think about it, and you kind of, it spawns all these other ideas and whatnot. But I use it because you can sit down with a small amount of time, knock out, 4, 5, 6 poems, and I kind of look at them individually. So even if it's a collection of poetry, there may be two poems in there that just blow me away, and I associate those poems with that collection. So it's possible that a collection of poetry where I only absolutely love a handful gets a really high rating because I kind of look at them as standalone pieces. But the last two books that Cynthia has put out have been these connected collections. The last one, Into the Forest and All the Way Through, was all about missing women, all about these cold cases that these women that have gone missing, and and they were literal cases, and at the end it would say went missing on this date. It would even give you the phone number of the local police department to call. But so very, very heavy. It was a very heavy collection, but it was really hard to pick favorites in that one because I didn't feel that they were necessarily standalone pieces. This is much the same because this is an epic poem, like an epic story told in poetry. I know I'm kind of messing up the definition of what an epic poem is, but think, Homer, the Iliad, the Odyssey, think that type of thing. But it's all this crime scene type feel with the missing person, the taken person, what has happened to that person, the villain and the detective, and all those things. And on some level, some of that back and forth between the detective thinking she had her man or her perpetrator, but not being able to prove it, and the perpetrator kind of toying with it. It kind of felt like this was almost like a Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey, Seven type scenario. I mean, not really, but I had that thought at least, but written in the form of this epic poem. So, they are divided into pieces, but there are no titles. They're all reports. So, report 14, report 15, report 16. And that also made it hard for me to like latch on to certain pieces. Like I can tell you that, my favorites were Report 18, 20, 31, 41, 56, 67, and 78. But that doesn't really tell you anything. Whereas, titled poems, you might be able to get a gist of what each piece was about from that. But anyway, listen to the synopsis. Cynthia Pelayo sings a song for the least of us, the victim we want to forget as soon as possible, the one who disappeared before ever really appearing. With a fairy tale gaze and a heart bigger than the world, her siren song insinuates itself past our defenses, past the hardened calluses and apathy we've erected to protect ourselves from the everyday horror of another missing girl. Pelayo relates the familiar story poem by poem. A body is found, a brutal crime investigated. Clues take us in circles and lead us nowhere. We are on an epic journey, the hero's journey, and it must play out to the end in all its painful ticking. I almost said tickling. That would not have made sense. In all its painful ticking moments. Pelayo imbues our hero Agent K with the entirety of our dedication and that crumb of hope we've been hiding, saving for later. We will need to save for years, for decades, if we want to come out the other side. The job takes its toll. The answers are never complete, and whys fracture, crack, and spread. Still, there is no turning away. We must bear witness, though it changes and contorts us. So yeah, you get the gist. There is a crime. There is a perpetrator. There is an Agent K, a detective on the case, and it's told in the form of this sprawling, gorgeous, epic poem. So I'm going to read you a couple. I'm going to probably, because again, I marked ones. Ones that stood out, I marked them. But it was really hard to like go back and say, okay, I marked 7, 8 poems here, but these are my favorites. And it was just hard to do. So I'm going to read the first one I marked and the last one I marked. Report number 18. An unjust death taken, tortured, mocked in misery, hopeless against a backdrop of blue sky, wondering, when will this pain end? You are an unfinished portrait painted most painfully, canvas punctured by cries. Heaven, what celestial beings could exist and watch, clothes ripped, wrist wrapped. I like that. I'm going to pause there. What celestial beings, what God could exist and watch something like this happen? There are some who speak of vengeful spirits, the energetic remains of a life taken forcefully, death followed by grueling despair, body disposed of unceremoniously, disintegrating at the altar of depravity. I do not speak the words of legends or myth. I do not sing the gospel of demons, saints, or gods. I am a restless spirit in disguise, guided by a longing to bury you in earth, where clovers will spring and water will erupt at points of those taken. That's even better on, I don't know if that's the third or fourth time I've read it, but that one gets better each time. And most of them do, I'm telling you. This is Report 78. It's the last one I marked. So we talked in the last one about what celestial beings could exist and watch this type of thing happen. There's a similar line here. Well, not really, but anyway, I'll read it to you. You see what you think. This is Report number 0078. No supernatural means, no mysterious forces, no mystical elements. Ghosts do not exist. Demons are fairy tales. God is lore. I'm going to pause there. I love that line because it's so close to God is love. God is lore. What lives in dark woods? What emerges from depths? What creeps within alleyways? Looks us in the mirror, clutches our hands, tells us we're loved, human as monster, blaming destruction on fables and legends. What's caused the most destruction and suffering? A warm beating heart. It's us. What's caused the most destruction and suffering? A warm beating heart. It's us. We cause the most destruction and suffering. Cool poem. It's a dark crime scene collection. Again, it's told, where each poem kind of runs into the next as an epic poem would be. I enjoyed it. I think I still have to say that I'm probably prefer Into the Forest and All the Way Through, but this was really, really great. I'm going to give it 4 stars. Check it out. Check out Cena's poetry. Check out her novel, Children of Chicago, where that one kind of pulls in like Chicago crime fiction with fairy tales and the Pied Piper. It's a cool story. Check out Raw Dog Screaming Press, the place for dark poetry. This is Well Red Beard. This has been my review. I hope you liked it. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.